Welcome to Pacific Indians Chatter. I'm your host, Cody Kelly, joined along with my co-host, Scott Brown.
Like the new tunes, Kelly. I almost brought out some dance moves with this.
Yeah, that's good for us that we're just only audio and not a video stream because no one's going to want to see that.
Oh, come on.
So, Indians, big week this week. We start out at Riverbend once again. We're still waiting for volleyball to get going and track to start up here in a couple of weeks. That's pretty much it for out of Riverbend. I just know that we have to mention the volleyball team or somebody's wife will get mad at him.
Yeah, they struggled to find a gym yesterday. They got some gym time, and they get things going Tuesday at Washington. I know all the girls are excited, so are the coaches.
So we'll have something to report next week. So now we're going to head up the 425 Indian Warpath Drive, and I'll kick it over to you.
The boys basketball team had a couple of conference games this week, and we welcome the Herman Bearcats Tuesday to the reservation. Herman came in as one of the conference favorites. They quite imposing, led by Parker Anderson, maybe a kid that could be conference player of the year. And they came in and posed a big challenge. In the JV game, our boys again played a close one. A lot of JV games have gone to overtime. I think they ended up losing by 5. Xavier Cox led the Indians with 7 points. Charlie Elmore had some good moments on offense. And freshman Bryce Brick came off the bench in the JV game and showed a little glimpse to the future. Big rebounding, good defense, very physical kid. I think they're looking forward to some good things from him, but the JV Indians lost a close one. The varsity boys had another physical contest. They're once again without one of their starters, Matt Rinke. Herman comes in and pounds the ball inside against the Indians and ends up taking a 57-43 win. I know Logan Bonds kind of kept the Indians close early, but Jack Meyer had the best offensive night for Pacific with 15. Quinn Blackburn had his 10 points and 10 boards, his pretty much typical night for the Indians. That ran their record to 6-18 and 2-4 in conference play. They had a couple days to get ready, and last night they traveled to St. Clair in a doubleheader with the girls varsity going first, but the boys wrapped up FRC play. The JV did not play last evening, and the varsity got off to a big start and had a lead well over 20 points and cruised to a 68-56 win to bring their conference record to 3-4. And like you said last night, all their wins have been on the road.
Yeah, and if you win all your conference road games, it's usually a recipe for a very good conference season.
Yeah, it kind of how it sets it up. Some years your schedule's really tough with some of the really tough games on the road, and you get the easier ones at home. But three road ones is a pretty good year in respect for that. Nick Iliff joins the leading scorers, 18 points on the night. Quinn Blackburn pumped in 16. Like I said, the Indians cruised to a win, but the Dogs made a little bit of a comeback in the fourth, got it to 6. And the Indians held them off. And I believe last night in the crazy FRC conference race, the Union Wildcats were the champions. They lost at the buzzer to Herman, but I guess St. James was beaten by Sullivan, and it gave Union the outright FRC championship. So I guess congrats to Coach Simmons and the Wildcats for winning the conference last night.
Yeah, sure. Congrats. This is a Pacific show. We don't have to really do that kind of stuff, but all right. After the game with St. Clair, I was able to catch up with head coach Cody Bradfish. I'm joined post-game with head coach Cody Bradfish after a 68-56 win over St. Clair. Coach, it has to be nice to get a big conference win.
Huge. Anytime you can go on the road, no matter where it is, to get one, it's awesome. I thought tonight was just a total team effort. Nick Iliff gave us some really good stuff, attacking the basket. Quinn had some good looks inside, finishing. Handling the ball by committee, Jack, Connor, X, Nick B, all of them did a good job. I think we played that first quarter. We didn't have a single turnover, so that was awesome, and I think that might be a first all season, so we're getting better.
And Nick had 18 points and Quinn had 16, so was the game plan tonight kind of get it inside?
Yeah, I thought if we could get it inside, those driving lanes were going to open up. We were going to get some good stuff, and then credit to Nick. I mean, every time he got in the paint, it was almost on balance and 2 feet. He did a great job because I thought it was pretty physical in there tonight. He did a good job of getting on the backboard and finishing. Jack Meyer had some good takes too. So those guys did a heck of a job of doing that.
It's got to be nice to get a win going into senior night and then heading towards districts next week.
Yeah, we told the guys, let's try to finish strong for our seniors. And let's try to build some momentum going into postseason. You never know what can happen when you get to postseason. Crazy things can happen. So I thought tonight can hopefully be something to lead into Tuesday and hopefully further.
Thank you, Coach, for joining us. I know you got a little bit of a strained voice, so I'll let you go. Great win tonight. Okay, and this week, it is time for a new segment. This is going to be our student correspondence little corner here, Charlie's Corner. Yeah, we don't have music yet. We'll work on getting that set up probably for next week. He has an interview with freshman basketball coach Justin King, so I'm going to throw it on down there for the interview.
I'm sitting here with Coach King, the coach of the freshman boys basketball team, and I just have some questions for you about the freshman basketball season.
Thanks for having me, Charlie. I appreciate it.
My first question is, how did the team do overall?
I was proud of their effort all year long. We started out the season with a big win over a good Washington team. If you'd have told me at that point that we were going to kind of struggle and end up with a 4-10 record, I'd have thought you were crazy. We definitely had some ebbs and flows or peaks and valleys, but I was extremely proud of their effort all year long. They're a very tight-knit group, so that's fun. And we kind of had a practice game theme all year long where I was trying to get them to understand if they would play like they practiced, because they did practice hard, and I saw some things in practice that would have benefited us well in games. If they would have played in games like that with that type of urgency, we would have been a little more successful, but I think they do have potential.
Who do you think played a leadership role on the team this year?
I'll have to give that to Hagen Hassel. He's a guy who was one of my captains almost every game that we had. He not only leads vocally, he'll kind of get the guys gathered up in games and talk to them, but he leads by example too, that willingness to sacrifice his body, to take a charge, to dive on the floor for a loose ball. He often defended the other team's best guard. He definitely can emerge from this group as a leader.
Who do you think was most improved throughout the season?
I had to think about this one a little bit because, there's several guys deserving, I think, of this moniker in this group of kids, but I think I'd give it to Blake Buker. I watched him kind of emerge from a guy who would come in as a bench role and give us good minutes early on in the season, and then he kind of blossomed into a starter once we had guys move up to the next level. And not only that, but he led us in scoring a few times. I think he's got a bright future.
What do you think about next year's team and the future prospects of incoming freshmen?
I'm excited about that group's potential. It was awesome to kind of sit back and watch the success that they had with Coach Missy. It's an awesome thing to go undefeated. I'm very excited, about the potential of being able to work with them. I want to get to work with them right away. I think off season for them will be huge.
All right, well, I think that's going to be it, Coach. And
Charlie, I'd like to say one more thing. I couldn't have made it through the season without you as a manager. I want to shout you out for sure. I appreciate all your help. Emma Marler, Layla, I could not have done it without you guys. I've got 3 great managers there that I hope I can kind of pass on to the next levels that are going to be managers, hopefully for the next 3 or 4 years. I know Layla may play basketball herself. We may lose her. I wish the best for her, but I could not have done it without you guys, so thank you. I appreciate it.
Girls basketball had a busy week this week. They started out on Monday hosting Herman, who's a very good team. The JV girls lost to the Lady Bearcats, and the varsity girls lost 50-19. A competitive game. They kept it to 10 or 11 and a half. Lexi Clark led the way for the Lady Indians with 9 points. And then Wednesday night, we had a Grandview game that we moved up from Friday, which was a great effort by Coach Missy and Mr. Thompson to get that game moved up so we could still play it. JV won a defensive contest 17-15. Jalen Miller had 8 points in the JV game. Liberty Blackburn, big night on defense and rebounds also for the JV. On the varsity side of things, the Indians won 45-30, which was avenged an earlier loss to Grandview in the Herky tournament. The girls, I think we were missing 1 or 2 players that night, and it was kind of early in the season, still figuring some things out. So it was really nice to bounce back. Shelby Kellerman led the way with 11, Lexi Clark with 10. And then to cap off their conference schedule, they went to St. Clair Friday. It was a varsity only night with the boys and girls. The girls came out on top with a 58-26 win over St. Clair. Three girls were in double digits for the Indians. Abby Hall led the way with 16. Molly Pritchett, 14 points and a double-double. And Lexi Clark, 11 points and had to be close to double-double, plus a volleyball court line buzzer beater in the third. Nothing but net. It was pretty nice. After the game, I was able to catch up with Coach Missy and some of the players. Joined post-game with Coach Missy and Tatum here. Indians with a big 58-26 win tonight. A little bit of a slow start. How did you get your girls to get going after that?
Well, I told my girls with the bus showing up 30 minutes late and us coming right off the bus into the gym and have to start our warm-ups right away that they need to flip on the switch and get after it right away. And apparently that's not the case that happened tonight. So after a little bit yelling in the first quarter, the girls picked it up in the second quarter and was able to get after it the rest of the game.
And it's always nice to end the season here with the conference win for you. Your first career conference win, too. Congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, I told the girls, St. Clair and Pacific were the two teams that haven't won a game in the conference. So do you want to end the season with 0 wins in the conference, or do you at least want to get that one win? So, I mean, there's definitely a little title to win tonight between the two teams.
Thank you, Coach, for joining us. We got 2 big games next week with Festus and Potosi to wrap up their season before districts. Joint postgame with Lainey Greer and Molly Pritchard after the Indians' 58-26 win over St. Clair. Lainey had 6 points tonight, a handful of steals and rebounds kind of all over the court tonight. How was it to get a big conference win?
Feels good to get a big conference win so we can gear up for districts and show that team that we're not what we used to be.
And then Molly had 14 points tonight and a bunch of rebounds for a double-double. How does it feel to be inside all night and just kind of owning the paint?
I wasn't expecting it to be quite as much of a physical game because they don't have so much bigger girls, but really got out there and they pushed me really hard, and that responded with me scoring a lot and being really dominant.
All right, thank you guys for joining me.
Yeah, when you can put 3 girls in double digits in a conference game, you're going to find a lot of success.
Well, and I mean, Lainey Greer had 6 points and several steals and rebounds, as you heard from her on there. It was a great night just for some of the people that didn't necessarily break double digits.
And this is when you can measure a program at the end of the season. You don't have probably the record that you want, but if you watch what the product is on the floor, it's gotten better. These girls have responded to Coach Missy. I think they're finally understanding the work they're going to have to do on defense and that their skills are going to have to improve, but they're finding success late in the year, and that's great heading into the offseason.
Yeah, they're getting better as the season goes, which is what you want as a coach. Speaking of getting better as the season goes, let's go to wrestling, where we talked to Jesse Knott earlier in the year, kind of how they were banged up and stuff. It seems like they recovered because they have 6 qualifiers for state.
Yeah, this is their time of year, and I think they were really rolling at districts, bringing 6 to state with Flaherty, Fiedler, Naff, McKay, Lincoln, Calvin all getting to experience that state tournament.
Yeah, and that's just on the boys' side. We also had Zoe qualify, so 7 overall qualifiers for the Indians, which is another impressive year.
And I think 3 boys made it to the quarterfinals. We'll wrap that up for you next week, but the medal streak is still alive.
Yeah, I believe the medal streak will stay alive. Warren Fiedler had a big couple wins yesterday, like down to the last second wins to stay alive. So I think he wrestles today to try to get into 3rd place. If not, he'll be in the 5th place match, which will guarantee him a medal.
Yeah, and there's a lot of proud alumni, coaches, parents in that wrestling program, and it starts in Little League, and we see the results. They're incredible.
Yeah, next week I'll have Jesse Knott on for just a recap of his season. I'll have Cody Bradfish on for a recap of his season, and I'll have Melanie Missy on for a recap of her season. That'll be our interview segment next week.
Good, can't wait.
So now we get to jump into at least what most students say is their favorite part of the show. Performance of the week. Well, I mean, I told this one that if she had a double-double, 6th hour out there at A-plus mentoring Riverbend, I told her as soon as she has a double-double, she's my performance of the week. So this week's performance of the week goes to Molly Pritchard. She led the way. I mean, last night at St. Clair, double-double, which was part of the thing we set up earlier in the year, and she hit it. She's also a big leader on the softball team and does a lot of work in and out of the paint for the Indians. So she's my performance of the week.
Yeah, and I know she'll be thrilled with that. I've had a couple of choices, but I'm going to stick with the boys basketball program. This guy at the end of last week continued his proud family's heritage of winning court warming. He was our court warming guy. And then this week he stepped it up for his team last night with a big performance. It's Nick Iliff. He's the senior guard. And last night he pumped in 18 points versus St. Clair. And when I had him on my JV squad, he was instant offense for me. Anytime he could get in transition, he could go for 20, 25, 30 points in a given night. He just had this aggressiveness to the basket and some confidence. And the last half of the season, he's been a consistent offensive threat for Coach Bradfish. He's great in transition, like I said, attacking the basket. The best thing about him, though, always has a smile on his face. Fun kid to be around. You can joke around with him. He has been the third leading scorer for the boys team this year, and his 2-point field goal percentage, I believe, is tops on the team at 57%. So congrats to Nick Iliff for my performance of the week.
Well, that just about does it for us, which is unfortunate this week for the baseball coaches because now we got to go carry about 100 chairs out to your truck to get ready for our trivia night tonight. But please don't go anywhere. Next, we're going to be joined with Coach Ken Grodie to talk a little wrestling. Stay tuned. I'm joined in studio with our guest this week, Riverbend Wrestling head coach Ken Grodie, also a varsity wrestling assistant coach, and a football assistant coach. He just does it all. Thank you, Coach, for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So this is another kind of stat I've been keeping is another PHS grad joining us on the interview here. It's kind of been fun so far. I'm noticing a lot of the PHS guys sticking around and coaching.
It's definitely a good theme. I think that's kind of how you build a tradition, just have those guys come back and learn not just from maybe where they went to college, but also kind of what they experienced with Pacific. So.
Yeah, but before we dive in, everybody's kind of listening. No states this weekend. We're doing this on Tuesday, so we're a little ahead of it. But before we do that, I'd like to talk about Riverbend Wrestling because we don't get to talk about them as much out here. So if you want to go about your team.
Yeah, so definitely an awesome season. We have a very short season. It's kind of by design for that. It's only 7 weeks. So we finished up in December. Had about 40 athletes, which was awesome. When we started, I guess it would have been about 2015, we only had about 7 or 8 athletes. So it's been kind of one of those things that we can build, and it definitely helps not just at the middle school level as it builds, but also at high school.
Yeah, 40 kids sounds like a lot of work to wrangle them in. Jesse Knott kind of mentioned that in his interview. You just managed to wrangle them all together and get them some reps.
It's definitely a process. Our program has a design where it's a ton of reps. So they come in and we eliminate that free time. I can't take all the credit. Coach Aaron Leggett helped me out this year, it was tremendous to have him. And having kids who wrestled in 7th grade come back and wrestle in 8th grade definitely helps too, because they can kind of build off that experience that they had.
Yeah, we mentioned the feeder system with Jesse, that you guys got great coaches all the way through from the Little League all the way up, which is really tough to say a lot of times to find people that are willing to volunteer as much.
I think it definitely says a lot about our program, says a lot about our culture. You have people who want to come back and be a part of that culture. And without those great coaches up and down, I know Coach Knott mentioned a little bit about our Little League. That's just another thing that we can add and build that really feeds into our high school program.
And we talk about the high school program because it's pretty decorated. There's just been a run, and we'll get into that. But this year, 7 qualifiers for state. It's pretty impressive to me because last year you didn't have any returning medalists, or did you even have any returning state qualifiers?
So Flaherty coming back was a returning qualifier. Dom Calvin was kind of in a unique situation. He qualified as a sophomore, so we had a little bit of experience. But definitely when you lose kids like Sitek and Thompson, replacing kids like that is very difficult.
Yeah, Jesse said he's always had that guy that he knew was the best wrestler in the tournament going into every tournament. This year was a little different, kind of a rebuild, but 7 state qualifiers is pretty good in a rebuild.
Yeah, I think that says a lot about our middle school program, having guys come in, like one of our qualifiers, Link's a freshman, so they're able to come in immediately and have a huge impact. One of the things Jesse talked about over the weekend was all of our qualifiers actually wrestled in middle school, so that kind of shows the progression of that and them kind of building. 7 qualifiers. It was one of those things, for Zoe, she started us off right a couple weeks ago at Lafayette, wrestled extremely well, wrestled the best she's wrestled all season. To see that, and then it kind of fed into the guys this weekend at Farmington.
Yeah, Zoe was mentioned last week because, like you said, the district was a little before that. She was my performer of the week. It's pretty impressive. First female qualifier for us, so congratulations again to her.
Definitely well-deserved. Actually beat a girl to go to state that she had lost to earlier in the year.
So real tough then to come back and bounce back through that. A lot of high school kids sometimes see that and think, oh, I've already lost to this person. But it sounds like she had the right mindset.
Yeah, definitely something we focus on. We want to be wrestling our best in February.
And that's kind of how it seems like you guys are. Jesse kind of mentioned you weren't healthy, finally got healthy. It's starting to come together. Before we jump into the fun parts of state, I know there's a lot of things that some of us that don't go to wrestling don't get to see how much fun the kids have and you coaches have too. We have 17 straight years with a medalist though. So, like I said, it's great time state, but as a coach, is that a little stressful going in knowing you have this streak? Kind of you want to keep it going. And I'm sure the kids know too, but not to put any extra pressure on the kids, but you guys are thinking about it too in the back of your mind.
I think it's something that we definitely talk about. At the end of the day, we build those kids up for the state tournament. We're not worried about them performing well in November and December. We have a process. It feeds into them feeding off each other, them continuing to get better. And so it's definitely something we talked about. I think the hardest thing as a coach, and as with any sport, your job is to prepare those kids. And there's some uncontrollables that you have to deal with. And the more and more you prepare them, that kind of eliminates those uncontrollables.
So with 7 kids at the state, and you're going to have kids wrestling possibly the same time, that just send, you're over here, Jesse's over there running around constantly trying to make sure you get to mats?
Yeah, so it's definitely a big arena. And so we really have a system where one of us assistant coaches will be partnered up with a guy, and we're kind of being in charge of him, of kind of getting him where he needs to be, getting him in the tunnel, making sure he has everything that he needs, saying the right things to him before he goes out on the mat. And then that kind of allows Jesse to kind of make sure that he can focus on the coaching, and then we take that kid out to the corner and get ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, it's kind of always an unsung thing out of assistant coaches, and I'll give us props since I am an assistant coach that we take care of the stuff for the head coach a lot of times, and now Coach Knott will be the one running all over the place, probably trying to get from match to match to match constantly, but hats off to you guys for making sure everybody's ready to roll.
Yeah, it's definitely a process, and so we have all those qualifiers, the 7 qualifiers. Only 2 of them have ever been there, so 5 new athletes coming in. That's something that at the state tournament Thursday during the day they kind of adapt to what's going on, and they can kind of see what other people do. So it's good.
So just a little information though on the state tournament for some of our listeners that don't really know how it works. Is it about 16 wrestlers a tournament, or is it 32? Is there a certain size of the bracket, or does it kind of just fluctuate?
So it's scheduled as a 16-man bracket. So you wrestle on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Now with the addition of girls a couple of years ago, they wrestle on Thursdays just like the guys do. They split up the classes. So class 1 and 2 historically goes earlier in the day, followed by 3 and 4 later on. Friday is probably the most interesting day because those are the placement matches. Everything's on the line. It's an awesome environment for people to kind of come watch. I highly recommend doing it. And then Saturday is your placement matches.
Yeah, Saturday, when this airs, this is when we'll have all of hopefully our big medal matches going on Saturday. So I'm sure people will find a way to tune in. I know there's been on NFHS and different platforms, different years to find the contest. I'll give you one last question here before we go. How much fun is it at state for the kids, though? That's 3 days. That's 2 days out of school. I know that was always fun when we were in school, just to miss school for any reason.
Yeah, I think it's that. It's the team aspect of it, too, getting to hang out with your friends. We go down there. They get to stay in a hotel room. We go grocery shopping. They kind of get to experience that. And then you get to watch your center stage for the best wrestlers in the state of Missouri. And so just the environment that they're in, Pacific has their entire section of fans there getting ready, watching. It's awesome, and it's something we've done all year. We've kind of fed off of each other, and you get to do that at the next level at state. So.
Yeah, got to be a lot more fun when you have 7 of your friends going with you, too, instead of just one person maybe, too, so they get to hang out and do whatever. Now, I mean, it might be a little different than baseball or something with all the junk food and stuff with weighing in and trying to sort of control your weight, but...
Yeah, we definitely have some guys who are right on that edge where they definitely need to watch what they're eating. And so our heavyweight guys get a little bit more of a luxury of kind of experiencing that side. But we do an awesome job with weight management too. So they understand the process and understand the sacrifice it kind of takes to be a great wrestler.
All right, and then after this one, I guess you'll be jumping back into football mode probably pretty quick.
Yeah, springtime, coaches kind of start to get meeting a little bit. Kids come in. We start to really prepare for the summer and then kind of kick things off.
Because you're my first football coach I've had on, so I definitely got to talk about that just a little bit. So you guys had a pretty good season this year. Looking to build on it going into next year?
Definitely in that building process. When you look at losing the amount of seniors we did last year, a lot of key guys, Ted Toney, Makai Pardon, Matt Austin, those guys not just helping out on the field, but also helping out as a leadership role and something to kind of build off of. We got a lot of young talent as well. So Luke Meyer is one of the best players that we've got a chance to be around. So building off the future, continuing to build that expectation of, hey, we need to be successful.
Well, that will just about do it for us. I hope you guys have a great weekend this week at State, and hopefully we'll have some updates. I'm sure you and Jesse will text me and
Definitely.
Coach Brown some things. We'll record Saturday morning, and hopefully we'll be talking about some state finalists or some state medals coming back to Pacific again for the 18th straight year.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Be sure to join us next week for the Winter Sports Recap. We will have interviews from all of our head coaches. Until next week, keep up the chatter.